And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and I was just doing some roster reviews, and I got a little ding ding ding, and it was Dark Side Territory Battles Phase 5, and people were asking me, how do I go through and beat the special mission with bounty hunters? And so I figured, oh, I'll go ahead and hop on. I'll do a video on the bounty hunters. Now, there's a lot of YouTubers that have covered this. That's why I didn't cover this. And there's one specifically, Sir Georgious, who did a great breakdown video. I saw a part of it, and it looks like that he's basically trying to explain kind of how these guys, the bounty hunters, can kind of be like resistance, in that you can, with resistance, constantly gain turn meter and pop exposes. It's the same basic principle with bounty hunters. It's what I've been doing for a long time to get through this. Now, what was really surprising in Sir Georgious' video, and I love it, that's why I'm calling him out, is his were not gear 11 like mine are. Most of mine were gear 11. I just popped IG88 to gear 12, but and I don't have any Omegas. He was able to do this though with gear 8, and I thought, wow, so it really does work, because I can't test at gear 8, but I can test with what I have, and of course I have no problem with it. And a lot of people ask me, why is it easy for you and not for others? Let's go through the bounty hunters real quick. We'll talk very quickly about their mods, and then we'll move on to the battle so you guys can actually see it in action. The first, Boba Fett, obviously is going to be your leader. He's got a ship, and he's the most important bounty hunter in the game as of the last 2 years. Obviously, we have a bounty hunter rework on the horizon, and so the things may change in this video after this month, but we'll see. But Boba Fett really provides a lot as a leader, from additional damage and turn meter to actual additional health bonuses and gains. So what you really want from him is, I mean, have him wherever you have him, but have him as the leader. Even at gear 80, he's going to provide a great leader position. I have critical chance mods on him, and I have random stuff like this. There's no speed secondary, and it's health. Like, nobody on the planet would say this is a good mod, but it is what it is. I don't use my bounty hunters for anything more than this, and really the idea was to get Boba over 200 speed. That was my goal, and I was able to do that. I got him right at 200 speed, and look at that, 53 plus speed. That's atrocious when you know that the 30 can come from an arrow alone. I only was able to get another 23 on 5 mods, so pretty bad. His potency is really pretty low. It's only at 50%, and his physical damage is just right at 3,200, so nothing significant with Boba Fett. Basically, he's there as a placeholder, as the leader for what his leadership provides the team. Greedo you can take or leave. He throws thermal detonators, which helps with this team. It's kind of like a character that does expose and resistance, except for he's a one-trick pony. He can throw some thermal detonators, and Zamweso can do that all on her own without the need for Greedo. So I would say skip Greedo, although I have used him in the past. I used to use him instead of Dengar because my Dengar was my lowest of all of my bounty hunters, and so it was just made sense that since he was the lowest, I would keep him out. But I have found an appreciation for Dengar, specifically with his ability to stun if they're over 50% turn meter, and the ability to debuff does speed the team up. Of course, you know, the others do that as well, but I just thought that was pretty good. If you notice, I don't use any of the Omegas on any of these guys' abilities. I don't feel it's necessary. And for him, really, it was just about kind of potency and getting his speed up a little bit. So I got his speed up to 182 and his potency to 64. I know a lot of people saying, well, that doesn't seem too high. It's really not. To be honest, anything over 60% is sufficient for the strategy at hand. Of course, I did put a 30 speed arrow on him. On here, I have critical chance. I think it's important because he requires that critical chance for that stun. And then down here, I have random tenacity, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And health. So again, these mods aren't optimal. They're just what I have for these characters. IG88, I just put to gear 12. I think he's going to be a part of a future in PvE with the bounty hunter team, and so I went ahead and got him to gear 12. Again, I haven't done any of his Omegas, and really for him, the goal was just overall a little bit of critical damage, a little bit of physical damage, not a whole lot to be said here. I've got some critical chance. I have some potency because he does do an AoE buff and a debuff on his, an AoE debuff and a debuff on his basics. So, you know, a little bit of potency on him is going to go a long way. And he's a damage dealer, so a little bit of damage crit chance would work. As far as Zam Wessel, she's really the engine behind this entire thing. When I first started, she was she came out just a few months after I started, and she was a like a chromium type character, an exclusive, and everybody was buying her and said she was trash. And I happened to buy some chromiums myself to try and boost up the amount of characters I had at the very beginning. Of course, everybody knows that, and I got a lot of her. And I had her at 7 stars and just sat her, you know, on the bench. And then come to find out, once Darkside Territory Battles launched, she's actually a pretty good character. She's actually the only one I have put any Omegas on. I put one set of Omegas on See What Sticks. And the reason is you get a cooldown reduction of 1, and she is the one who's going to throw thermal detonators and pop them. And so obviously if she's the engine, this one makes the most sense. It's the only Omega that I would suggest, not needed, but I would suggest it. I do have her at gear 11. I do expect to take her to gear 12 at some point. And as far as her modding goes, of course, a speed arrow, and she has health triangle. Again, I'm not making this up. My mods aren't so good. I would probably have critical damage or critical chance there. And then, of course, some potency. She's throwing stuff, so she's going to have to get that stuff to stick. And I've got some protection. Again, her speed, she's naturally very, very fast. You don't have to do a whole lot to get her pretty fast. And critical damage naturally went to 180 because I have a set on there. And then her potency's at 74. Again, anything over 60 is really sufficient, but for her, I put a little bit more because she's going to be the engine that could. The last, Cad Bane, he's a stunner with Dengar and Cad. They're both stunners. I used to use one or the other, and now I actually use them both. I think having 2 stunners is really important, but remember, with stunning comes the need for potency, so both of them should have a potency cross. I have 21 plus potency. It's a 4-dot mod. It's okay. It gives him a little bit of extra potency, and I've got some critical chance on him with a speed triangle. So you can see his speed's a 175, not atrocious. His potency's almost at the 60 threshold that I'm always looking for. And, you know, he's overall just okay. So what you're coming across from this is basically level 8 and above with good mods, or even if you're gear level 10 or 11 with mediocre mods, you should be able to do this just fine. If you know how to run resistance and pop the expose and do the expose train, this is going to be virtually identical, except for instead of expose, you're going to be using the thermal detonators. All right, so we're in Darkside Territory Battles. We're going to go ahead and go in. And Boba Fett's the strongest, so he puts him in the leader, but just make sure that if you had a stronger character that they didn't automatically default the wrong leader. Sometimes that happens, so you got to double check. And of course, they've put everybody I want in, except for Greedo. I'm actually going to use Cad Bane for the stun instead of the extra thermal detonators. There's no wrong way. It's just a matter of what you're finding success with. Now, I've put out videos before on Darkside Territory Battles and Kill Order, and the Kill Order is not going to be any different on this. My videos I put out months and months ago on Kill Order always specifies, obviously, the Rebel pilot first. He's going to be the cleanser, and that's a big issue with this team, because if he cleanses off what you're trying to do, you're not going to accomplish what it is you're trying to do. So the first thing we're going to do is throw thermal detonators. We want as many to stick as possible. 4 is not bad. The next thing we're going to do is apply ability block. We very much do not want them going into stealth. We don't want them cleansing. All right, so Rebel Officer is my second target, and I actually want to stun him. He has more than 50% turn meter, so what I want to go ahead and do is I want to use this second ability, and hopefully 59% potency is going to be enough to stun him. There we go. We got it. So like I said, 60% is about all you need. The next thing I want to do is apply more debuffs to the team. So I'm going to go ahead and use IG-88's AoE. And next, I'm going to come back here to Rebel Soldier. I just want to try and get a stun on him, if possible. Didn't get the stun. And their train moves pretty fast. So I'm going to go ahead and start using Zam. And I popped a thermal detonator. She gets 100% turn meter. We're going to move to another character that has it. Now, I can't see, but I believe this guy has a thermal detonator on him. So we're going to go ahead and shoot him. And he did. And because her ability's on cooldown, we're going to go ahead and use her other ability, which applies debuffs, desperately needing that. And what's really cool is I can go ahead and use a basic to kill him. Don't need execute, save it for another. Now we're going to go back to Rebel Officer. And we're going to go back to Zam throwing more thermal detonators. Let's go ahead and use a basic. And we'll pop that thermal detonator, giving her another turn. We're going to move back to this tank in the back, Rebel Soldier. And we'll try and finish him off. Then we'll move to the next one. And we're going to pop his thermal detonator. Now, I know a lot of people that say that, you know, you've got to just go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And that's the idea. But obviously, RNG plays a factor, and you're not always going to get the thermal detonators, especially if you're dealing with the mediocre mods, potentially, that I am dealing with. Now, I'm going to go ahead and use his basic. I'm hoping that he calls Zam Wessel to assist. And he didn't. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and use execute. And put some more debuffs down with her basic. All right. Now they are stealthed. It really doesn't matter that they're stealthed, but I do want to try to stun them. I got a stun there. We're going to apply some more debuffs to the team. And I am going to go ahead and hit the front one with this because he has 2 thermal detonators. And I'll shoot the back one. And she'll get a 100% turn meter going into round 2. All right, on the second round, it's basically just the same exact kill order as the last round, except for obviously Biggs and Wedge are in the picture now. So the first one you're going to want to hit is Rebel Pilot. He's the cleanser. We're going to go ahead and do the ability block, which didn't work. We're going to throw some thermal detonators. Now we can do ability block with IG-88. This is also why IG-88 works well, is he's a backup ability block specialist. And we'll use a basic. And I can get a stun if it's over 50% turn meter. It doesn't look like that he's over 50% turn meter. He's right at the 50% turn meter. So I'm going to go ahead and risk it and attempt a basic and hope he calls in Zam Wessel. And he wasn't over, which I thought that might be the case. Let's use her basic. It exploded. Let's go ahead and move now to Rebel Officer and explode that one. Boom. Basically, we're going to go back and forth. And we're going to go back to Rebel Pilot, use a basic. And now we're going to move to Biggs, and we're going to pop his. He got plus 15% evasion chance, but he doesn't get the 100% turn meter. That's what I meant. He doesn't get the 100% turn meter. All right, let's move back. We got to kill this Rebel Pilot. And then we're going to move to the Rebel Officer, or you can kill Wedge Antilles. Rebel Officer and Wedge Antilles are kind of a toss-up. Wedge does a lot of damage. He's got more turn meters, so let's go ahead and use this special. And let's go ahead and, bam, finish him off. They did stealth, and that's the one thing I wanted to prevent, but it's all right. We've got plenty of time. We'll go ahead and put some expose. Let's see with 6 debuffs if I can kill Biggs Darklighter. And we did. We'll go ahead and move over to Rebel Officer. Who dodged that? We'll use ability block. We will stun him. Basic. Called an assist. He's finished. Let's go ahead and use a basic. And there are no thermal detonators left. Again, this wasn't a perfect run, and like I said, if you want to see a flawless run, Sir Georgious, I believe, has a flawless run on his with Gear 8 characters. With mine, Gear 11, I still did really, really well. It's not difficult at all. You can see, even with poor mods, which I have very poor mods, and even slightly bad RNG, it's a walkthrough. I believe anybody with my kind of crap mods could probably still do this even at Gear 9. Gear 8, you'd probably want some pretty decent potency and speed. Most important is Zam Wessel, of course. And that's all she wrote. There you go. I hope this helps. Everybody's been requesting it. I haven't done it. I figured everybody else did it. Why should I? But people want to know Warrior's opinion on this. So there you go. I hope this helped. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe subscribe if you like the content. Side note, I have a lot of people saying that they're no longer receiving the notifications for my videos, and they're going in and they're actually finding their notifications were turned off in YouTube. So if you're not getting my notifications for this and you've stumbled into this, make sure that you go into notifications and turn them on. As always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.